medication.
Yeah, that's not a good mix under any circumstances.
Not at all.
I mean, it's a couple things that make that not a good mix. Like you asking for an intake appointment.
I mean, I know people that do it, but I'm not that adventurous anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. Once you become wisdom of a certain number, it's like, okay, yeah, this don't work for me no more. Don't work for me no more. So, good evening, Sip and Chat Relationship Flow crew. Thanks for joining us this evening. As you see, we got some missing boxes, but we're going to have one pop up in a second. We want to wish Daryl some safe travels across the country with his family. Um,
Mhm.
but it's Friday night, and we going to make it do what it do. How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. I'm good. Allergy season is officially upon me.
Right. I could
I'm trying to
co-sign.
figuring out my new combination because every season, is not the same.
Right.
So you have to find your the combination that works for you each time. It's never the same thing. So now I'm working on my combination of remedies to see what works this season.
Right. Right. I think I'm right there with you, especially with movement happening outside.
Hmm.
It creates a different conversation in regards to the season being upon me, but I have to start back with what I was using before
Hmm.
that was making it that I didn't even see. Like when you were experiencing it last year, I was like, oh, I don't even know what that feel like because I was doing this certain tea concoction. I need
Hmm.
to get back that to that in my life, but I do have tea tonight
Okay.
just because
Okay.
it was nice and warm earlier as I was out in the streets in and out, and now it's chilly.
Hmm.
So with the
Yeah,
allergy,
last year wasn't as bad as the year before,
mm-hmm,
but it was bad. And
right,
it's because allergies are still new for me.
right,
I have a hard time every single season. I'm like,
right.
where did this stuff come from? Why am I being plagued by this?
Now you know what us allergy people was talking about
I
all this time.
do. I really do.
And I don't really have a chill usually. Usually it's all year round for me. So once any season break, or if I go down 95 and come back, when I went to Atlanta and came back, like it's like the dirty air is usually the air that works best for me here in Philly, but which is scary to say, but I always notice the difference.
Yeah, and I got a couple of air purifiers in the house, and that has worked. We
Mhm.
got them last year, and that has reduced it greatly when I'm in the house.
Okay. When you're in the
So,
house,
yeah,
right?
when I'm in the
We was out
house,
in the park this week.
or if the windows are open.
Right, right. But I was acknowledging how you got you some vitamin D.
I did. I was out in the playground, not even the park.
On the swing. I was like,
On
okay,
the
she
swing.
could have turned the camera to face us, like
I
to
know,
face
right?
her. Like I'm like, okay, ooh. Like,
Hello, everyone.
hello, Pastor. How are you?
Hey,
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
We are
good.
good. We are good.
Good. Good.
Glad you could rock it out with us and join us.
Yes. Yes. Thank you again for having me.
I, you know what I said last time, right?
I know what you said last time. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So how has your week been?
My week was pretty good. It was pretty good. I didn't realize that today was a holiday. So I was wondering why every time I was calling places, nobody was open today.
Hmm.
How the pastor forget Good Friday?
Right.
I know. I know. I was so busy working on stuff
You're
and I
supposed to be
didn't go
coming
to
through with
church.
the last 7 words.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't go to church today. So I'm going to go tomorrow and Sunday. So I think it just slipped right past me because I was so busy working on projects today.
Mhm.
Okay, projects.
Yeah.
I had a phone call early with somebody who had was like a guest that came through the show, and was Terrence, Doc, and he was saying something smart, and I said, "How you gonna come out like that on a Good Friday?" And he said he thought I was just saying it's a
A
good
good Friday,
Friday.
right?
Right,
Later
right.
on in the day, I guess he learned that it was the holiday. He texted me like, "Yo, that went right over my head. I didn't realize it was Good Friday." Like that's funny.
Yes.
That's funny. That's funny.
I know, and I was like, Good Friday. So Sunday is Easter, right?
Right.
Yes, yes. Now I didn't forget that one.
And
I
it's
mean,
funny,
Easter used
somebody
to be.
somebody asked me, was I ready for Easter?
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I gotta answer this politically correct.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm always ready for Easter because Easter, resurrection, spirituality is every single day. Do I need a basket or a trinket or a new outfit? I don't need all of those things. So I'm
That's right.
always ready for the creator to bless however that's gonna
Yes,
happen.
yes, yes.
He was
Okay, that was a
disappointed
good
in my
answer.
answer.
That was a good answer.
Yeah,
That
thank
was
you.
a great answer.
Thank you. Because he was like, well, you gotta get the kids something. And I was like, yeah, let me sip my tea. I got to get the kids something. Mhm.
I mean, it used to be it was a big deal for us growing up.
It
We had,
was.
we had the egg hunts. My mom hosted the gathering of the kids, and we had the Easter egg hunts and like
Mm-hmm.
parties, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it was fun. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like anything commercialized when it comes to spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. So other than your projects, how do you want us to refer to you? Pastor Dana, Miss Lewis,
Yes,
Miss
that's
Dana?
good. It could be Pastor Lewis, Pastor Dana, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Okay. All right. I
It's
just was
good.
flowing
It's
with
good
Pastor.
with me.
All right. Other than the projects, everything else is good.
Everything is great.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So we
Yeah.
got a conversation that's kind of loaded. It might take a couple weeks to get into it all, possibly depending. Um, but we wanted to look at some of the influences in the community and the ones that are harmful and how they impact relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it can come in multiple different layers. So I don't know, Doc, where you want to start with this conversation, or Pastor Dana, if you got something that you want to bring out. But some of the conversations that came in the pregame
Mm-hmm.
was talking about like mental health. The church was mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
toxic relationships, um, and toxic relationships with both friends and family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Self care,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the work life balance and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got it. Oh, and rumors. I know
Rumors.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
rumors, stereotypes, and gossip. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what we got. That's why I was like, this
Okay.
might be more than 1 week. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. We could take each one of them, I think, and tap into each one of them and determine both the negative, the negative and harmful effects that it has on a relationship, especially behind closed doors.
Right.
Is where really the harmful influences impact, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people don't want to show their family and friends what's really going on behind closed doors. So therefore, those harmful and negative impacts make a greater impact when you're not sharing that information and getting support from your loved ones or friends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
As you were sharing that, of course, I always these days seem to have a couple or a client that reminds me of something that comes out. And I have this week, one of the things stated from one of the partners was, in public, I don't like when you agree with what the other people are saying
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
public. So if it's something that I'm doing that's not appealing or appropriate or whatever, can we talk about that only behind closed doors?
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
could be a power play too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Huh.
Come on, Doc. I hear the I'm gonna drink my tea while you come together.
Yeah, yeah. That could be a power play, especially if you're in a relationship that's not healthy already
Mm-hmm.
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 and your partner is demanding that you show the world a face that's not true or real
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want the world to know how much of a negative impact they have on you.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Really.
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So this person wants their partner to agree with everything they say in
Outside
public.
the house
Gosh. So that means that partner is not allowed to have their own mind,
or their
their
own.
or to they don't have they are not allowed to appear to have their own mind, their own thoughts, their own opinions, their own feelings.
They're not allowed to appear. How about that?
Well,
They're
yes.
just
Okay.
supposed to be in a costume in a shell of partnership and yes, we're husband to wife. Husband
Mhm.
is the one that says don't agree with the outside comments when
Mm.
we're out in public. Like you always say, yeah, he does do that. He said that doesn't make me feel good.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Mm. Well, stop doing it.
Well, the main problem with that is very, the main problem with that is very often in relationships, we lose ourselves anyway,
Correct.
especially when it comes to a woman in a marriage. Very often, the woman loses a big part of who she is, and then she loses even more when she becomes a mother, right? So
Right.
now
Mhm.
he's asking her to put on this face out in public, and many controlling partners do that. Even if they don't express it through communication, they express it through their actions and how they look at you or give you a nasty look. Like women that are used to being in those type of abusive relationships, because that's what it is, even if they don't realize that's what it is, they become conformed to what it is that their partner wants, whether it's healthy for them or not. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
like a parent, when a parent look at a kid a certain way and they straighten up, grown women or men, depending on what type of relationship you're in, they conform and then they lose themselves. Let me
Exactly.
tell you what the biggest problem about that is.
I love when
When
Pastor Dana get
when
going.
Right?
when you do that, not only are you not being true to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what
Mhm.
people don't realize is in each situation, the more that you're not true to yourself, the further your true self becomes hidden.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
then it's hard for you to start to determine, well, are
Mhm.
these thoughts and feelings mine, or
Mhm.
are these thoughts or ideas or feelings someone else? And so
Mhm.
eventually you can possibly lose yourself altogether. And when you
Mhm.
lose yourself in that type of situation, what you don't realize is not only are you losing your voice in that situation, but you're losing your voice in all the situations that occur.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then
Absolutely.
it's harder to get back who you
Yeah.
really are. You don't even know who you are anymore.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that you said that because that's what triggered me to even ask even more questions because the wife looks at the husband to get permission to speak.
I knew
Mhm.
it. There you go.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then he will give her a long stare that if there were words coming with the stare, he is cursing out like, B, didn't I tell you not?
Mm.
And I was like, okay, but this is the safe space because you're supposed to be working
Right.
through stuff here.
Yeah.
So this is not the space of contamination, but can we change the behavior? Like,
Mhm.
can we
Well,
look at the
now,
behavior?
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
And now that I know that the person is a pastor, I'm going to
You
tell you
wasn't
where
supposed to
that's,
say that. That was in the private chat.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
messed up.
That's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
I'm sorry. I think it was important just to mention, right,
Uh-huh.
that when people are married to anybody spiritual, it doesn't just anybody religious, right?
Mhm.
Especially if they're in a religious leadership position, right?
You good. You good. Just keep
Am I
going.
good? Can I say it? Can I say it?
Yeah, just keep
Mm-mm-mm.
going. Yep.
The
Lord.
Society of Religious Leadership I hate to admit this, but it's true. Many people, I can't stereotype, but many religious people who are in religious positions are taught that there must be a facade at all times that's positive.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a religious leader, you're not allowed to show emotions. You're not allowed to act like you're human. You're not allowed to have your own feelings or anything
Mm.
like that, because everything is about your image.
But
Why?
how do you genuinely relate to the people that you're leading if you have to be all the way up here and they feel like they're down here?
That's how many religious leaders gain control of their flock. And the
Mm,
other issue is, if they don't continuously keep themselves above the flock, then how can they convince the flock, especially in some religions that require you to give 10% of all your earnings, plus
mm,
depending on how much you make, not only do they now want the 10%, but I've gone to churches where they actually want you, if you get paid twice a month, they want a whole paycheck.
mm.
And you have to
Wow.
remember, even in the church, they're telling people a lot of times, if you don't have money to pay your tithes, then you're supposed to take it from your rent. You're supposed to take it from your gas, your electric bill. And
I've
if those
heard that.
bills and stuff get cut off,
I've
then you
heard
need
that.
to go talk to God about that. So
So
how can
now, okay, so now we're talking about the church communities. We
Correct.
went right into that
You
one.
went right into that.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, how do you keep control of your flock to make them do what it is that you need them to do if you don't elevate yourself to a level that
Mm,
appears supernatural? Because if I
mm,
explain to the congregation, I'm having financial problems too, I'm in an abusive relationship too, I'm in a controlling well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose those members. And guess what's going to happen in the church?
Because you're not
The
supposed to be human.
Right,
mm.
the larger people like the bishops and things like that, they
That
can remove
defile.
you from your position just based on you not fitting the image that they want. That's why you're
Wow.
not allowed to get divorced. That's why you're
Mm,
supposed to basically stay in an abusive relationship, because you have to remember, in these religious organizations, you're supposed to take whatever problems you have to the higher authority, and it's up to the higher authority to fix it. So it's
mm,
easy for her to fit into that mold. The other thing is, in religious organizations, many women have no say to begin with. You're supposed to be like the rock and the Bible, quiet, and the man is always supposed to be the head and the woman's supposed to be the tail. So if
mm.
you look at that concept, then I'm not allowed to have feelings. I'm not allowed to have say so,
So, what
because
would
I'm
be the
supposed
point
to
of
be
therapy in a
submissive.
relationship like that?
Right. I'm supposed to be submissive to the man at all times.
Mm,
So I think to your question, Doc, she is assimilating to his spiritual beliefs. It's not necessarily it was hers when
okay.
they met. And so she's trying to learn the role in which she's supposed to provide, but she would be the second wife. And
Okay.
so he had not communicated all of the things that the first wife did, but the first wife also was like, deuces, I'm out. Like, I need
Mm,
my voice, I need this, like,
mm.
whatever. So um he's trying to save his marriage.
Okay. Oh, like
I
really,
believe
really,
I believe he is.
really, really, or fake really?
See, I don't know. Like that's the part of the process. Like, are you really trying to like
Well, I'm gonna tell
Right.
you this. I
Because
would
if you're just trying to help your partner conform to what you want, that's not saving your relationship.
right.
But I
You
can tell
know?
you what probably happened. In the dating phase, he chose her because he knew that she admired his position, right? And so therefore he chose her because, based on her personality, her beliefs, her life experiences, he knew that he would be able to put her in that position for the sake of saving face in the religious community.
Mm, wow. So just from everything that you said, Pastor, I could see how that could have a negative influence on your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you aspire to fill that position the right way.
Mhm.
If you've had any semblance of independence yourself at any time in your life,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be difficult to change into that.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Mm,
And to tolerate any forms of aggression or stuff that
mm-hmm,
comes through by
mm-hmm,
being, byproduct of being in this relationship. Like, you didn't ask for all of these layers
mm-hmm,
of spiritual responsibility, if you will.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And the way that we was interacting before we got to this level, it wasn't all the way spiritual.
mm-hmm,
So I mean, it was, but it wasn't approvable to this doctrine or whatever. And
mm-hmm,
so, like, how these rules just come out out of nowhere, and you want me
mm-hmm,
to comply, and you're significantly older than me, and like, it's so many layers. Like, it's just so many layers.
mm-hmm,
Plus, not to
mm-hmm,
mention, he was already married previously, right?
Correct.
So, therefore, if he has another divorce, he's possibly going to be exiled out of the religious community that he's in. So, he has to sincerely try to save his marriage. Not doesn't mean that he's willing to negotiate, just means that he's probably willing to come to therapy and try to get the therapist to convince her to continue to conform.
Well, they're gonna have to find another therapist if that's the case,
That's right.
uh-huh. Yes.
because that's not
That's
what this
right.
process of therapy is for. Like, the
Mm-mm.
process of therapy is supposed to have real talk conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and to really like bridge the gap between what is happening and like what your current reality is and what your desired reality, and how can we get you there with it being a
Mm-hmm.
mutual sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had the experience of couples coming to therapy with one of the couple just wanting me to make the other one do what they want.
Yeah, like,
That's
tell
right.
them what to do. They crazy.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yes. Yes.
That's
And it's
right.
usually the other one that's crazy. The one that's trying to make the partner change.
Right, right, right. I love when I find out what my nickname is to the couple. Like, I didn't learn this week. I got two new nicknames that I ain't know about. But they
Oh
be like, we
wow.
coming to I mean, and they're appropriate nicknames, but I guess like
Okay.
when they're having conversations, they be like, Mem said, or
Oh,
wait till we get into the session. I'm gonna tell Mary. And they be like, yeah, I'm telling Mary on you. You're not telling the therapist on somebody. Like,
Right. Right.
that makes
And a lot of couples use the session to do that.
right,
You know what she said over
right,
this past week, or you know what he did over this
right,
past week. And so you spend a lot of time trying to get them to move forward when they keep talking about stuff that happened
right.
prior to the session.
And it's almost like, if we talk about like harmful things in the community, it's like their view of what the space of therapy is even for.
Mhm.
They haven't really wrapped their mind around what that looks like, and the investment of time that it takes to kind of
Mhm.
undo what they've been doing. And
Mhm.
that really, like, it's not the
Mhm.
therapist's fault. Are you doing the
Mhm.
work?
Mhm.
that's true.
That's
Are
the
you
fight.
doing right?
It's the
Are you
fight.
doing the work after therapy?
Right.
No.
Like, other
That's
than
the
And
the
fight.
many of
hour,
them are not.
What's the
right.
fight? No.
You
No.
know, I
This
told
Oh, I
one
forgot
somebody,
person
to.
will not write anything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I just
right,
need you to write it. They was like,
Uh-huh.
I'm not writing it. I said, how about this?
Uh-huh.
We're gonna break the couple up. I'm gonna meet with you individually, and I will write it. You just get to dump it, because us not knowing what's going on in the 6 inches between your ears,
Mhm.
the relationship is gonna be at a stalemate.
We forgot to do our homework. We didn't do it. I'm sorry. We didn't get a chance to do it. I'm sorry.
And then I'll be like, okay, so what got in the way? What was you doing that helped you avoid? Because behavior does one of two things:
Yep.
to get something or to avoid something. That's the
Mm,
that's
purpose
right,
of a
that's it.
behavior, all in of
that's
itself.
right,
Yep.
that's right.
So, what was y'all doing? What was you avoiding?
Mhm. Very true.
And
Very
very
true.
often, some of them are just afraid of change. I had a session today and I had to tell a client, listen, if you done already figured this out, then what are you coming to me for? You know all the answers. So if you're not going to listen, I said, well, let me ask you a question. If you have a cancer diagnosis and you go to an oncologist and he say to you, you need to eat this, and this once you leave here. You need to take this medicine and this medicine. Are you going to argue back with the oncologist and go word for word or say, or not do what he's telling you to do? Not if you want to get better. I said, but I done sent you things. I've requested homework. I've talked to you about things. I've told you certain things not to do because it's harmful, not only to you, it's harmful to the relationship, it's harmful to the children. Well, I don't know. I don't see it that way all the time, Pastor. I just think the way I'm working is working out well for me. I said, well, how's that going? Oh, it ain't going because my wife left this morning. I said, really? I'm so surprised at that. But if you figured this thing out, then don't call me. We don't have to do therapy. Go look for your wife. But she's not going to come back as long as you still have these harmful behaviors. She's not coming back. So he said, well, do you think I've lost her for good? I said, are you willing to do the work? You have to be willing to do the work.
Right.
He said, well, can you call her and ask her to come back? I said, no, I can't do that.
No, it's not my responsibility.
No.
There you go.
But we could call while we in a session from your phone while I'm present. Like, yeah.
And use some of your skills that we've learned in session to try to get her to come home.
Right.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because like what happened to make her
actually use some I statements and some reflective listening.
That's right. That's right.
It's funny though when you start putting the accountability parts in the process, be it someone who's influenced by the community from their spiritual practices, or I've been a thug all my life and I ain't trying to not be a thug no more. I'm not suggesting that everybody is a thug. I'm just using that as an example. Just had to say that. But like if you're so wedded to who it is that you have been and how it is that you do show up, like you might have a different and better life on the other side. You really, really might. Like you might be able to create a life that's far better than the one that you're trying to hold on to.
Oh, that's so true. And it goes right back to what we've discussed before. People sometimes are so afraid to walk away. They're so committed to what isn't working. And sometimes they become so complacent with where they are that they don't have enough faith in themselves. They don't have enough faith in whoever their higher being is. And they're so afraid to make that move because they know the person that they're dealing with, even if the person isn't good for them.
Well, what's the term? The devil you know?
Yeah.
Right. Versus the one that you don't know.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
But I'm like, first of all, how does that sentence start? You rather hang out with the devils? And how it is that we understand devils?
That's so true.
You rather hang out with that side of the game versus not necessarily we gotta go all the way to angels, but like who we rocking out with?
So true.
But again, as the pastor said, that fear of, well, if I do change or if I do try to do something different, it might not work for me. Or it might be worse than what I already had. Not even thinking, but it could be better.
There you go. And another thing that keeps people tied, in these situations that are harmful for them is money. It's finances.
We ain't even put that out there.
Finances is a major issue as to why people will not walk away. They may not feel like they could have a life, on the same level that's equivalent to the one they already have. And they're not willing to accept anything different, or they just may not have any finances altogether. Because sometimes when you are in these type of relationships that are harmful to you or for you, the partner that you're dealing with may have control of your finances, or they may have access to see where your money's going, how much of it are you taking out? And a lot of people have to answer to these partners. It goes back to a lot of times we allow people to expect more from us than we're even allowed to expect from ourselves.
But it's also allowance. Like sometimes they're given allowance and they have to kind of make do with the allowance or justify why they're asking for a certain amount. And that doesn't feel great.
That's right.
It doesn't feel great. But then on the other side of that, I'm pausing because this is one of our viewers that I was about to share this situation. You can be a professional that does very well in your professional field, and your husband is the one allegedly that does the finances. But when you don't do the taxes, you don't do like the monthly banking, you don't know what money you're out here hustling and grinding and bringing in. And you know that he's inconsistent with maintaining work. So you know that you're holding it down. When you guys separate and like now there's a bankruptcy and now there's like all these other things and you have to justify that you were unaware because of financial abuse, like that's challenging. It's challenging because you've been out here grinding in these streets, right? Evals on top of evals and nonsense, like, and here he go not paying stuff and not doing stuff and we losing the house and yeah, you crazy. That's what I said on the girlfriend phone call. I don't say that in professional terms.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes,
Another
finances
thing
can definitely be a hazard.
Right. But you don't really realize that you're in it until you all the way knee deep in it.
Yes.
Because it looks so convenient and so like, okay, great. I don't have to worry about that. I could just grind the way I'm grinding and things is taken care of. So you think.
I mean, that reminds me of like something from back in the day where, the women didn't have control of the purse strings. So if the husband died, things would be really bad because in some of those cases, the wife couldn't even write a check.
Right.
She didn't know where the money was and all kinds of things. So it's just amazing to me that that's happening now in this day and age when there's so much access, online and like, why wouldn't you have that conversation or why wouldn't you?
I think that the power of influence is that, and this was about 10, 15 years ago at this point, but the residual effects of being independent now still creep up. And so because they still creep up, then it's trauma and like all these other things that's like residual to the fact, but it's like the finances, you weren't able to approach the partner to talk about it because they was like, well, when is the invoice coming in? Did you send the invoice? Did you do what you had to do to like, are you serious? I mean, times that I can recall visiting and she's like, okay, we hanging out and all, but she had the computer to the side because something was happening with the computer because she had to meet this deadline by midnight to get this eval data in.
Oh, wow.
Right. And she was like, well, you need to come down and visit more often because that's when we get breakfast cooked for us. No, y'all not pulling me into the little.
Right. I know.
Another good thing that you mentioned, Mary, from the start too, is how do rumors and gossip and things of that nature, how harmful
about finances,
how harmful those things that exist in the community and how they affect people's relationships. It affects people's relationships far more than people want to admit, especially gossip. Gossip has no fact. It's all fiction, right? But yet many people get so caught up in other people's relationships, other people's business, And they're talking about these things and they're bringing them right into their own homes, right? So sometimes if you have a partner that's very gossipy, they're doing it in the house, not paying attention to their partner, not paying attention to other responsibilities, not paying attention to the children, because they're so caught up in everybody else's business. And that can be so harmful to your relationship, because being a part of gossip allows you pretty much to escape reality and not have accountability for what you're saying and what you're doing. And so that can have a profound negative effect, especially when you go out in public, you dealing with gossip, you dealing with rumors, especially if those rumors and gossip is about you or about your partner. So how you treat your partner can be a direct reflection of the rumors you've heard and the gossip people have told you. And it actually can destroy a relationship, destroy a marriage.
And has. I mean, we got some public relationships that's being destroyed and dismantled.
That's right. That's right.
But the power of rumors, though, or even the stereotypes is is connected to the other comment that was on the pregame thing of hanging out with the Joneses. Like you trying to do everything to hang out with people who, I guess they matter, but they don't matter. Like, you know, you're giving people more voice in what's happening in your house and in your life, decisions that you need to make, just so that you could be approvable to be with that crowd. Like, why are we doing this?
Yep. Or what about all the people, which I have some clients who do this, you're really not even a part of the Joneses, but you constantly lying and you constantly have you and your partner hanging out with these Joneses while you're lying and pretending that you're on the level of the Joneses, you know, just to try to have your relationship fit in. But then when y'all go home, now y'all arguing because you done went to be with the Joneses and really have to face the fact that you don't have what the Joneses have.
Right. And does that become inferior, or are you gonna try to go to rent a center and make it happen?
There you go.
You know, or big screen TV just so you can say you got one, but you can't afford that weekly payment. They're gonna come and repo your TV.
That's right.
Or you're putting the household in jeopardy, trying to keep up financially. You know, so if you're gonna take some money away from the mortgage or the electric bill or the gas bill so that you can,
because we got heat.
Yeah, so that you can, you know, buy this car with this astronomical car payment just so the Joneses see it in your driveway. That's a problem.
Girl. Oh, in my case, Lou, right now.
Well, I gotta tell you, I got a case. Or what about when they can't even afford it? Afford it.
That's right. They can't afford it. Yeah, if you have to put off bills or things that need to be done to have a thing, then you can't afford it.
Right.
You really can't. Even though they gave you the credit.
That's predatory. That's predatory in a setup anyway.
Yes. But they'll do that. They'll look at your finances and know you can't really afford it and let you leave with it. So that's why it's up to you to know whether or not you can really afford it.
Yeah, but Doc,
make sound financial decisions.
Mercedes, or I really want this Rolex, or I really want this $800 weave. I could make it happen. I could just eat at home for the next 3 weeks. We know that's unrealistic, because as soon as you pass Outback, you're gonna be like, oh, let me go to Outback real quick. I'll make it up real quick.
Yes. So yeah, that you're right. Go ahead.
Ruth, I was just saying hey to Ruth and letting her know we was talking about the Joneses hanging out with the Joneses. That was her comment.
Yeah, that was her comment, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. And the Joneses, if they're really a couple who is secure and doing things because they can actually do them, they don't care what you got.
They really don't.
You keeping up for no reason. They
And
don't
the
care.
competition, it don't even matter.
Right, right. They know they're not in competition with you.
Because how about they about to go level up and buy something else?
Mm-hmm.
And so every time they level up, you're going to go and try and figure out what payday loan, what other loan you could get so that you can like level. No, you can't do it. The answer is the full sentence no. The full and
Yes,
complete sentence is no.
yes.
And
And
sometimes
I
when you
found it rare that both partners are on board with this behavior.
Hmm.
I mean, that's just in what I've seen. It usually causes some contention because
Hmm.
one partner is saying, no, we don't need that. No, we can't afford that. No, we need to pay this instead. And the other partner is like, no, we got this. Don't worry about it. So I've rarely seen it where both partners like, yeah, we gonna level up.
Yeah, they're going to be Bonnie and Clyde. Like we're going to work it out no matter what.
Yeah, very rare do I see that.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But even though it's not mutual, depending on the voice that the partner has, it'll appear
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
they're co-signing it because they can't
Yes.
say anything otherwise because
Yeah.
they feel like they're going to lose something, the trinkets that they have enjoyed. They're going to lose that in the meantime if they were to hold the person accountable.
Mm-hmm.
and you
Very
know
true.
what that comes from most of the time. Some people, if I'm talking about women, some women would rather have a piece of a man
Mm.
than to have a whole man.
Mm-mm-mm. Whoa, whoa,
What
whoa.
exactly is a piece of a
Like,
man?
yes.
So a piece of a man is I'd rather just hold on to what little bit I could get, I could have, or a little bit of how he's treating me instead of having the whole person that's working with you to develop and achieve a healthy relationship, the whole person that believes in, us doing things mutually. They would rather have a little voice just so they could keep the appearance of, oh, I got a husband. Oh, I got a man. Oh, I got a man that love me, and behind closed doors, it's none of that. So they
Mm,
would rather just take a piece of what
mm,
they could get to show society that they have the same thing. And the reason why many women do this is because in our society, women have pretty much for all our existence have been judged on us having a man. That's the
Mhm.
reason why when women aren't engaged, a lot of women buy their own engagement rings just so they can walk around like they engaged. A lot of women will turn around.
well, you done made Mary choke.
Yes.
A lot of women will turn around
Oh
and
God.
right. A lot of women will turn around and be calling a man their husband, and they ain't even married.
Oh goodness.
So, they put on these
That's so
facades.
funny. When I'm doing evaluations, sometimes the person will write husband or wife. And then when I say, well, when did you get married? Oh, no, we're not really married. Like,
Exactly.
what?
Exactly.
Why are you
But
making
that's
that
my bae.
claim?
That's my bae.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, that's your babe, but that is not your husband or your
Right.
wife.
Right.
I don't care how long you've been together.
Or oh my God. I probably need supervision consultation or something going on.
Oh God, we gotta talk after this.
We might have to because like one of the calls, we talk about who is the husband, who is the partner or whatever. And when people have not, I guess, whatever legally gotten married, but they're married because of Islam or what have you, but
Okay.
then they're so quick to want to walk away from it and say, well, yeah, I ain't really like them anyway, but I like what they did for me. No, that's not what the commitment is supposed to be for, that you put the coat on halfway and had the other arm hanging out. Like, and when something doesn't go your way, if you okay with it.
And that's one of the things I talk about with couples when we get into counseling. is closing those doors, those exit doors.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in this, there is no exit doors.
Right.
You close all those. If we're gonna be
Right.
working to make this thing work,
Right.
if you have another apartment, get rid of it.
Right.
If you have, you got all these ways to get out, stop it or just get out.
Make your decision. Your decision is made.
That's it. Yep, that's it.
But what if I'm saving an apartment for my kids? Like sometimes they have situations and they need somewhere to go. You heard it.
Your kids need to get on their own feet, and you need to stop enabling them and allow them to find their own way.
So what if I'm the oldest sibling and everybody depends on me to take care of them? So instead of having to get a new spot every time, I got this house with like 3 levels, and so people could just come there whenever they need to.
We're going to talk about setting boundaries with your family. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. Okay.
What was. I thought I was building family legacy and wealth by having this other property. Now you telling me to get rid of it.
Because that's not what it was for. Stop playing with me. And that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say to you. Stop playing with me. That's not what it's for. Because if you're still staying there every now and then, every time you get mad and you run there, that's not what it's for.
I got one better. If they don't want to get rid of it, because there are times when people are trying to create generational wealth, right? So guess what? It's okay to have it as long as both people agree that it's to be rented out and that they don't have access to it. You can't go over there and stay because tenants are there. And we're actually generating money from that property. If you're not generating passive income from it, then you don't need it at all.
And I'm talking about an apartment, not a house,
right?
And the people I'm thinking of,
right?
I'm thinking about an extra apartment where money's going out.
Exactly.
Nothing's coming in. That's right. Nobody's there most of the time.
Right.
Well, it could be the mistress there.
How about that?
True.
And I've experienced that where the mistress has a full old house or apartment, and you going over there to do a maintenance check.
A maintenance.
Vitamin
laying pipe.
Laying pipe, vitamin
laying
D.
Pipe over there.
Vitamin D, yes. Vitamin D shots.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to have a voice.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Because if you don't have a voice, then you might as well just lay down, because people by nature are going to take advantage of you and walk all over you.
Right. So if anybody is joining the conversation now, just gotta just reset real quick. We are talking about like some of the harmful community influences that kind of impact our family. Earlier on, we talked about church, we talked about finances. Now we're just talking about roles, I guess, in regards to like how it is that you deal with stuff. So feel free to jump in and share your thoughts or stereotypes or hanging with the Jones story that you might have. Crazy.
I know, right?
Yeah, let's talk about toxic relationships.
Huh?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Doc. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue to say what you was about to say.
Okay, I was getting ready to take it back to the people in our lives surrounding our relationship. That I think because they sometimes have too much influence in our relationships, friends, family, and it becomes toxic when you are allowing other people to make decisions for you and your partner. So it's not just you, not just your partner, squashing your voice, but other people on the outside. You're allowing them to actually dictate how you move. in your relationship. Sometimes your partner knows this, sometimes they don't, you know, but I think a lot of times it comes out. It comes out when, you know, you are unable to make decisions and you have to go to this person or that person before you actually make a decision with your partner. And that could definitely tear you apart.
Right. Because then you're saying the outside voice has say so in what happens inside our house versus trusting and loving me enough to know, okay, we're going to work this out and this is how we're going to work this out.
Well, many people can't even make a decision. So many people have been taught in life that they don't have a voice, right? Or their brain and their mind is unable to focus, unable to concentrate. So very often, a lot of people can't make a firm decision. And so they constantly go to other people, family members, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, friends, and say, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Do you know, I have so many people, who are clients of mine that everything that happens to them, they got to call somebody else. They almost have become dependent upon everybody else's decision. And then they take other people's decisions or what other people have said and bring them into the relationship. They can't even make a decision on their own.
And a lot of times that has to do with not trusting yourself.
Right.
And again, we're going to talk about, some trauma.
Right.
Where you have learned, where you have learned that your voice, well, I was going to say you learned that your voice doesn't matter, but I think it's a little deeper than that. You learn that you just cannot trust what you think.
Exactly.
Or something has happened where you made a decision and the outcome is not what you wanted it to be. So then therefore you second guess your contribution moving forward.
That's right.
Yes.
That's
so
right.
Now you're second guessing every decision that you make because you don't trust yourself. You don't think that your decisions are going to be the right ones. So you have to call everybody. Take a poll.
Yeah.
That's too many voices. That's too many tabs open. Like if you think about, I'm looking at my tabs on top of my computer. Like if you think about all them tabs being like different thoughts or whatever open, like that's too many tabs open.
Yeah.
But a lot of people too, especially if they're close to the person that's giving them their opinions and giving them what they would do, a lot of people are afraid to do something outside of what's recommended to them because they're afraid of how they're going to be looked at, like by their mother, or how they're going to be looked at by the community, or how they're going to be looked at by friends and other family members. And that plays a major role too in people's decision. Oh, I don't want to let her down. Oh, I don't want to disappoint her. Or, no, you know what my mother think of me if I do that. And they bring it right into the relationship and it's harmful.
But even like that whole, what my mother said, or, my mother said this, or just having a parent of a parent's voice involved can be sabotaging in and of itself. Because you could probably have, like, say, a business idea or something where your parent is involved, and then when they're involved where they're holding the money, here go financial abuse again, and you need to make a purchase for the business, but you got to clear it with your mother, but you need the money to re-up stock so that your household with your wife could be okay. And you thinking your wife not supposed to feel some type of way about your mom holding the money? Like you.
So now you're talking about not only is your relationship influenced, but now your wife's relationship with your mother is influenced. So we're talking about potentially destroying more than one relationship.
Right. Because of your indecisiveness or inability to be consistent with making a decision. And then going to talk about, well, why they say I'm a beta male? Have you made a decision lately? Have you made a decision and you
Why
stuck to
don't you
it?
call somebody and ask them?
Right. Right. Yo, what I'm doing, man, is making me look like phone a friend, get a lifeline.
And it goes right back to two. I tell people this all the time. You have to be very careful who you sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your problems, your ideas, your dreams, your goals. You got to be very mindful with who you share those things with, because everybody genuinely is not your friend. Everybody genuinely don't have your best interests at heart. There's a lot of hidden jealousy and envy that goes along with a lot of these relationships, where sometimes the people don't want to see you do good. They don't want you to be successful in your relationship or in your marriage because they're not successful in theirs.
It's very true. It's very true. And I've seen that, you know, oftentimes with friends. If you are a person who is usually single, and you're there for your friends because you got time and you don't have anybody else to invest your time in, when you do start investing your time in someone else because you're in a relationship, it can get pretty sticky with your friends
And family.
and family, because now you're moving out of the role that you've
Yep.
always had of
Yep.
this single person who's available to all of us,
Yep.
and now you've changed. And it's not even about them looking at it and saying, wow, now they're in a relationship, this is great, I'm so happy for them. It's like,
Nope.
now you knew, because you can't do this and you can't do that, and
Or
now,
they and
now
but
you
yep,
think you something.
yep. And then they don't like or they disapprove of the person that's taking you away from them.
Yes, 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 yeah. And that's what happens. Sometimes they disapprove of the person, and it's really no reason. They'll make up some stuff
That's right.
for you to make you think that there's something wrong with this person. And the harm of that is, if you get sucked in, you could potentially walk away from something that's actually good for you,
That's right.
because
That's
you're
right.
listening to someone who, and I'll say, jealous
Yep.
or selfish.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they'll say they want to see you happy, but on their terms.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as they could still have you in the manner that they want you, going back
Mm-hmm.
to that selfish level,
Mm-hmm.
then it'll work for them. But
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time, when you're dealing with somebody that's jealous, you're dealing with somebody that's envious, you're dealing with somebody that's selfish, they're not going to show that on their sleeve. They're going to
Right.
pretend to be your friend. They're going to
Right.
pretend they want the best for you. But it's for selfish reasons or jealous
Mm-hmm.
reasons. And that's why it's important for us to constantly reevaluate ourselves, reevaluate our relationships, because guess what? Everybody that starts your journey with you should not end with you. A lot
Mm.
of people think, well, just because this person, my friend, we've been friends since high school, they supposed to be with you your whole life. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
the case. You grow
Mm-hmm.
up, times change, and sometimes the group or the people that you may have in your life may not match where you are at in your life right now. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to have the ability to just walk away. Everybody that start with you isn't supposed to finish with you. Some people are there for a reason. Some people are there for a season. Just a
Some
season.
for a lifetime. You
Some
though.
people are there for a lifetime, and you have to constantly reevaluate your relationship and say, well, how is this relationship going right now in my life? Not
Mhm.
about what the person did for me 10 years ago, or how are they treating
But
me right
if you
now.
have if that person is skilled enough and they know you well enough and know that you're like a loyal kind of person and you want
Yeah,
to do what's right for everybody, if they're
right.
skilled enough,
Mhm.
they can make you believe that you made the wrong decision.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Sound like the N word.
Yes.
The NARCI.
Uh-huh. Yes. And they can make you make a decision that's really for them while you're thinking it's for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Persuasive thinking.
Uh-huh.
That's
Uh-huh.
right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So you do have to be careful, like the pastor said, about what you share, but you also have to be careful about following what someone else is saying. Just
Mm-hmm.
because they feel this way. I mean, you can try to evaluate and see the reason why the person is doing this, but I guarantee you, if you present it like, you know are you having a hard time with me being with somebody because you're not used to me being with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to admit that.
Mm-hmm. No,
They're
because
not going to.
you
Go
calling
ahead.
them out.
Right, right. They're not going to admit it. And I did have one situation where the jealous person didn't realize they were jealous of their friend being
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship. All the behaviors pointed to it, and until it was pointed out to that person, not by the friend, because you're not going to take that from your friend. Like,
Right.
you crazy, why would I be jealous just because you got a man? When it had to be pointed out by somebody else, a neutral party,
Mm-hmm.
then they finally acknowledge, like, yeah, I guess I was a little jealous. A little
Mm-hmm.
jealous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
And
you go ahead.
jealousy is unfortunately it is a developmental behavior or thought process that's normal.
Yes.
And it can creep up where you don't even
Yeah.
realize that it truly exists.
Hmm.
However, it don't have to be that way. Like once you realize it, like just make your decision on
Hmm.
how it is that you want this feeling and this thought process to live in your life. And do you
Hmm.
want to be jealous? Like what's the risk? What are you
Hmm.
losing by this person living their life?
Yes. 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 And I think that's the mature way of handling
It
it.
is. It is.
Acknowledging, yeah, I am a little jealous of her. Like, oh, okay. Now I got to do something with this. I got to do something with the
Wear
jealousy
stilettos like
that
her.
doesn't involve making her feel bad.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
That part.
That's
Not making you
yeah,
feel bad.
not making you feel bad.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think that's harder to deal with when the person doesn't really understand what they're feeling. Here we talk about emotional
Emotional
regulation and
intelligence.
knowing your emotions. I think that's more difficult than the person who knows they're jealous and is just going to act on that behavior because they just mad because this girl got a man.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little easier.
It's an ego push though too. An
Yeah.
ego punch and it's an ego push
Uh-huh.
on
Uh-huh.
both sides,
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
which is toxic.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very
A
much
lot of
so.
people don't even realize um, what toxicity is in a relationship.
Right.
And one of the things that I tell people, they'll say, well, Pastor, how do I know if my relationship is toxic, whether it's with a partner, family, friend? When you are dealing with somebody and you constantly feel drained, you constantly feel like it's not enjoyable, you know, you're not being celebrated, you're just being tolerated. That's
Hmm.
the main sign, or one of the main signs that your relationship may, be toxic. And then people don't understand, well, okay, what are some of the other things? Well, it's unhealthy patterns, unhealthy behaviors, abusive communication. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't even understand what even makes a relationship toxic, and
Mhm.
how that toxicity is affecting, their relationship in their marriage or with their significant other. So if they don't even
Hmm.
recognize it or know what it is, most of the time they don't even know they're in it.
But sometimes they've grown up around it, so they don't know
Hmm.
that it's not the appropriate behavior or action to even be doing.
Hmm.
Right.
Very true. Yeah.
That's right.
It's all that learned behavior
Mhm.
that sometimes we're comfortable with because it's all we know.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Here we go with that devil you know versus the one you don't.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And it's
some of
funny
the
because you end up creating toxicity all around you,
Mhm.
right. So
And
not
what
just
are
feeling
with
it's
some?
a healthy way. Like having chaos around you is good. Like because when it gets quiet, then you get scared and you don't know what to do. But
Mm-hmm.
quiet is actually wonderful.
It can
Yes.
be. It can be.
Yes.
Some of the
Yes.
signs of a toxic relationship, maybe we need to talk about that. I think some of the signs are lack of support from your partner. That can contribute to a toxic relationship.
What does
Toxic.
support look like though?
There you go. What does it look like for the people who are in it? So if you're in a relationship and you find that anything that you want to do that may better yourself, your partner or your significant other may be against it. They don't show you any support for it because they don't want you to achieve it, so that then in return you could feel better about yourself and then maybe really do something better for yourself.
Or they'll say that's going to take too much time. That means, well, who's going to take care of the kids if you going back to school? You're going to get a child care person.
Right? Or it's
Like
going
they
to
don't
take
even
too much money.
but then
right.
they're
It's
gonna
going to
say
take
they
too much.
don't want nobody watching their kids.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
It,
gonna be
yeah.
on this trucking job and I'm gonna be gone for like 3 weeks. And you got your high level job, but you still got to do the homework and the cooking and the everything for the baby. No,
Hmm.
we need to hire somebody
Hmm.
because we can. And that's the
Hmm.
only way that we're gonna have that mutual, like emotional connection.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
sometimes that leads into toxic communication. So if you're dealing with somebody and in your conversation with them, your partner or significant other, you find that most of the time the conversation is filled with sarcasm, is
Mhm.
filled with criticism.
Mhm.
Most of the time that's fueled by contempt.
Mhm.
And that's so that kind of lets you know too that you're in a toxic relationship, because the conversation isn't healthy to begin with.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It's starting off balance.
It's
Hmm.
starting off
Or
off
it's
balance.
before it even start off, your stomach is already dropped, and
Hmm.
you trying to figure out when's the best way to introduce the topic. It's already toxic.
Hmm.
That you got to figure out all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Without even
When you
realizing that the person you're dealing with may have resentment towards you. So that's another thing. If you're dealing with a partner or somebody in your life, they won't let go of, like Doc said, what happened last week, what happened last month, what happened last year, then that toxic behavior is very harmful to a relationship as well, because you can't never get ahead, because the people in your life won't stop looking behind.
Mhm. Mhm.
hmm. Hmm.
Another issue people
Mm-mm-mm.
need to look
Yeah, she got it
for
all.
toxicity in
I
a relationship is a big one: dishonesty. When you're constantly, like Doc said, you dealing with people who won't show you their true self. You know, they're very advanced in the skill of lying. Then you know you don't even realize the world that you're living in because you've been living a lie and you've been a part of the lie. And some people could be so advanced at lying, pathological liars to say the least, psychopaths, narcissistic people,
And people who work
sociopaths.
in sales.
There you go. That's right. And so that could be
Oh God.
so you need to look for that in a toxic relationship and patterns of disrespect. You know, I talk to people all the time. You're in a toxic relationship too when your partner has patterns of disrespect, saying disrespectful things to you, no matter how little they are. When you let the little levels of disrespect come through, I promise you, before you know it, you won't be able to control the level of disrespect that is to come. You have to have the courage to stop it right in its track, to rebuttal it right in its tracks. Because if not, they're going to wear you down just with the disrespect, and you'll forget who you are because you won't have the strength anymore to stand up for yourself.
At all. At all.
So when we're talking about
a water pastor, because you was going in.
I know I need something to drink, right?
So when we talk about the community influences and bringing it back around, these learned behaviors come from somewhere. So ground zero is usually where the person grew up.
Oh, the living room. Shucks now.
Yes. Learned behavior. So, you know, just taking it full circle back to our family and how they create these monsters that are
directly or indirectly,
and directly or indirectly.
That's right.
And how, you know, even if you're striving to get away from that model, it can seep in. You know, I'm sure people know, you know, people have had the experience of saying, I'm not going to do this or that the way that my parents did. And then you catch yourself doing it.
What? Yes.
Because it's
your default.
Yes, it's your default. It's your default. So
like without you even
go ahead.
It's your default like settings. Like it's what you know. As much as you said a million times over, when I have my family, I'm not going to do this. It's what you experience, and the situation calls you to the carpet, and it's your default. And so you got to do something to change that narrative, and that's not always easy.
No, not at all. Especially when, if you're still connected with your family, they're still doing the same stuff. And every time you might try to change your default and you interact with them, it comes right back. You know, it's like when you talk to someone who might have come from another country and, you know, they've been here for a while and you don't hear their accent as much when you talk to them. But when they're with their family, that accent is thick.
Real thick.
It's the same principle. Like you kind of resort back to what you were taught. And they start to exert that influence. And if you're really tight with your family, that influence and that hold can be so strong that, you know, even indirectly, like you said, Mary, you know, a word. You know, you might talk to a family member about something you're doing, and then they'll say, "What? You're doing what?"
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, no. All right, let me go back to this way.
Making you second guess.
Mm-hmm.
Or why you trying to be all soft now? Like, you know that
Mm-hmm.
ain't how we do. It's
Mm.
2022. It's how we
Yeah,
do.
that's how we do. That's right. Or why you being bougie?
Right. Right, right, right. Right.
Because I want a little bit better. I'm bougie
Right. Right.
now.
Or I want something different, or I'm learning how to love on my child and love my partner. Everybody's relationship is not the same.
Right.
Well, I want to bring in, one of the celebrities that's been in the news lately. A lot of people. Well, I want to bring in, one of the celebrities.
Sorry, guys. I did not mean to do that.
A lot of people are really coming down hard on Russell Wilson, calling
Who's
him a
that?
simp. Russell
Oh,
Wilson,
oh,
Sarah's
Sierra's husband.
husband, the
Okay, okay.
football player. A lot of people have gone on television, gone on nightly shows, and they're now calling him a wimp, a simp,
What?
a this, a that, saying he's a sucker for love. He not no good, and a lot of people who
Future
are
must have started those rumors.
a lot of people are starting to comment on him saying, well, why do he treat her like that? He's a simp for treating his wife good, or he's a simp because now he accepts Future's child as his own. He respects Sierra, and why he being like that? Man's supposed to be hard, man's supposed to be this. So sometimes when people don't recognize the changes that you've made or the differences that are in you or other people, when they don't recognize that, they criticize that, and they talk about that, and they don't accept it because it's not what they're used to seeing. So if it's not what they're used to seeing, even if it was dysfunctional or what they were used to seeing, if it's not what they're used to seeing, then it must be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Neil. Dumb, jealous people.
And
Yes.
here I go. Huh.
Uh-huh. And I wanted to comment on Ruth's previous comment. That's why you might need to cut off toxic family. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some people will say, well, that's my family and I can't. But, sometimes you do have to.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay.
It's
Like,
okay.
you're not abandoning anybody. You're not I mean, life just kind of really evolves and people grow out of people. So you got to realize that as people grow out of people or grow away from the patterns that shaped you as an individual, it's not the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
You choose to
Mm-hmm.
live life differently.
Yes.
And you found that wasn't serving you well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the important thing. Like, is this serving me?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Well, healthily.
yeah, healthily.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have to ask yourself those questions. You know.
Mm-hmm. And I know the
Mm.
word healthy is like a taboo word. Because once we hear healthy, we think that it's all the way, negative.
Mm-mm.
So Ruth is saying when they did this, our marriage got stronger. I guess cutting off toxic families.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Healthy is the operative term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Pastor, you made a important observation, because it's one thing we do talk about in emotional regulation is how you feel physically. Mary, you mentioned it too. If something is making you physically ill,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big sign from your body and your mind that it's not healthy for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our we get a lot of signals
We do.
from our body about how we're feeling, and we have to we have to listen.
But our default is to ignore it. Because
Very
I
true.
ain't got time to do that. Like, I gotta go ahead and keep pushing myself beyond my limit because XYZ need me to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the major signs that you're dealing with toxic family member and friends too, or even in a toxic relationship, is when you're under constant stress. Some
Mhm.
people think that that's normal, but it's
Mhm.
not. For you
Mhm.
to constantly be stressed out, walking on eggshells. What is this person
Mhm.
going to say? What is this person going to think of me? Man, that's torture within itself.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. And
Yeah.
stress is usually the indicator that something is not right, and we have
Right.
to pay attention to it, because the alternative of not paying attention is that it's going to cause more upheaval, like more distress, more challenges that may create hospitalization or your
Mhm.
inability to do all of these things that you run around to do, that, I mean,
Mhm.
unfortunately can be deathly.
Mhm. Yeah. Stress. It's not just a saying that stress can kill you.
Mhm.
It's a fact.
Mhm.
It's a fact.
Mhm. Cuz left unaddressed,
Mhm.
it's definitely killing you on the inside.
Mhm. Mhm. And it leads to a lot of um the things that especially kill people of color: high
Definitely.
blood pressure,
Mhm.
diabetes,
I was sharing with someone the other day about their
heart disease.
overthinking, because their
Uh-huh.
overthinking is very, very intense.
Mm,
To the fact that they're unable to kind of move in a conversation anyway, like positive,
mm,
and they're ruminating over thoughts over and over and over again. And
mm.
I was like, you can create some health issues that could be deadly.
Mhm.
You sit here
Mhm.
trying to overthink and rethink and process your
Mhm.
wedding plans, like
Mm.
you could end up having like a brain aneurysm or a
Mhm.
heart attack, or like something, really, really major, where the day won't even matter.
Mhm.
Your partner sitting next to you won't even be able to experience you the way that you want to be experienced.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they were like, for real? For real.
Mhm. For real. For
And
real.
especially we talking about 2023 October, girl, bye. Got the dress, the
Rumination.
hall, the caterer, the all, really,
Mm-mm-mm.
all of this to show people that y'all could do it, like,
Mhm.
because y'all getting married this year, but you waiting for all the way to 2023 for the party for people.
Oh
Why?
wow. Wow. Mm-mm-mm.
I don't get it.
I don't
Keeping up
know.
with the Joneses.
I said,
Mm-mm-mm.
well, when you were growing up, were you a little girl that had a fantasy of what your wedding would look like? No, I just know what I want.
Okay.
You about to die knowing what you want.
Mm-mm-mm. Wow.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
don't know. People like really don't pay attention to stress. Stress is like a post-it note waving a flag saying, "Hey, pay attention to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
What you're doing is not working for you and you need to pay attention to me."
Mhm. For sure.
It goes
Sure.
back to that avoidance that you said. A lot of times people would avoid things because it's outside of their comfort zone. If they
Mhm.
face it, then they'll be confronted with the choice of whether they need to make a change. And a lot of people are afraid of change.
Cuz the change
Mhm.
might mean I got to break up
There you go.
and
Yes.
be solo and single by myself. Like, no, we can't do that. We got to work it out. I could deal with
Mhm.
it. I could deal with it. I could just, when they start tripping, I'm gonna just go to the movies or go to the spa.
And
Mm-mm.
a lot of people are afraid to be alone. Being alone, and one of the recent studies is a major reason for people having depression and anxiety and things of that nature, because so many people have never learned how to be alone.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna put my phone down, guys. I was on Facebook trying to see if there were comments, because sometimes while we're on here, comments come through.
Right,
So just so you know, I was just checking our comments, guys.
right, right, right. Because it is a delay. There is a delay,
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
makes sense.
Sorry. But yeah, you're right, Pastor. It's true. People are afraid to be alone. They haven't had the experience of being alone. And it's scary for some people to
Mm-hmm.
actually be alone, especially if they went from their family of origin home to their partner's home,
Mm-hmm.
and now have are faced with the possibility of being by themselves for the very first time.
Right. And of course what we've just encountered with the isolation of the public health crisis, a lot of people were left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told we had to stay shelter in place, and
Mm-hmm.
for those who followed that or whatever, created some isolation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And isolation, like, we're, as humans, we're not built for that. We're built for
No.
experiencing the sunshine
Yes.
and getting
Yeah.
our vitamin D, having constant, not constant movement, but movement like exercise and mobility,
And
and
being social.
being social and touch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that did the pandemic did really add a whole another layer to
Mm-hmm.
most things.
To a lot of stuff.
Yes.
To
Just
a
added
lot
a
of stuff.
whole other challenge.
And we won't even know the full effects,
Right. Right.
especially when it comes, like, what we're talking about with the community influences. Like, we won't
Uh,
really even know the full effects of the pandemic in that
right.
for
Right.
years to come.
Yes. Yes. The babies that were born during the pandemic, and because it was even different for them
Mm-hmm.
with how they came into this world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's we yeah, we'll see the effects of that.
We'll see the effects. Yeah, definitely soon to come.
Well,
Well,
one thing we definitely know for sure is that during the pandemic, the suicide rate doubled, and in some communities, it quadrupled
mm-hmm.
as
Mm,
a result
And
of,
everything is not reported, so
right.
they're still, like,
Mm,
we're in 2022. They're still doing 2021 data.
that's
mhm.
right,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
right, that's
Even
And
right.
when
we also know that domestic violence and child abuse increased.
absolutely they had complete
Absolutely.
access and isolation.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
But all of these are learned behaviors, like learned behaviors and not learned behaviors, because you don't have the coping skills to kind of deal with the levels of stress. But
Mhm.
everybody didn't get all of the financial bonuses, but life was still,
Right. Right.
and so it
Yes.
goes back to the finances.
Mm,
We want to, if I don't really want to take us there, but I started it already. um like, we want to look at, like, violence in our communities. The core of it is finances
mm,
and being able to take care of your family. So if people had the whatever stability looks like for them financially, we would have less crime. We would have
mm,
less fear driving up and down the streets in certain cities or whatever. Like, we wouldn't be so afraid of these unmarked guns and so forth that's, like, in the community, because people wouldn't be in survival mode,
mm,
which is trauma. They're in
mm,
survival mode.
mhm,
They don't
mhm,
go into the Dunkin' Donuts or the GameStop to murder people that come in. They go in there to get a couple dollars, to get Pampers and meat to make dinner for the evening. And
mm,
vicariously, these other things happen because they don't have the financial stability. This is community influences.
mhm,
And now that
mhm,
person is taken away from the family. Family has to figure out how to survive again without their physical presence.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
finances.
mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. That some of it is finances. I also think that some of it is that being in the survival mode and not knowing conflict resolution skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because
Mm,
they don't teach that anywhere.
mm, mm,
And
not
culturally,
at all.
we even have it down pat. Like, we might on this panel have it together, but where do we learn it? We didn't
Mhm.
learn that in the living room.
Mm-mm, no.
We
Uh-uh.
learned if somebody put their hands on you, you're going to hit them back.
Mhm. Mhm. Yup. Uh-huh.
Come in this kitchen if you want to. The skillet going to be about your head.
Yes, yes. So yeah, we talk about a lack of conflict resolution and trauma and the lack of finances. You got a nice little brew.
Nice little brew in every little urban city corner.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like the fact of a lot of the communities. I think this should be done everywhere. I don't think that certain communities um, should do it and other communities don't. I love the fact of the new income payment programs that's taking place in a lot of the communities now, where they're just giving you, even though a lot of cities are doing it as a pilot program, they're taking single mothers and they're giving them an extra $1,000 a month for the next 12 months. Or they're taking whatever population that they deem to use their CARES money for, and they're just giving them $500 a month for the next 24 months, to see how much of a profound difference it'll make. So when we have some of the senators and congressional people saying, why don't we just give everybody $2,000 a month? And let's see the difference. But my thoughts are, I got one better. In addition to that, why don't we start paying people a living wage?
How about that?
Start
Mm-hmm.
people what they're worth instead of allowing these multi-billion-dollar corporations to pay people pennies on a dollar. And one of
Mm-hmm.
the perfect examples that shows the difference this will make is there's a company out here that decided right before the pandemic they would pay everybody in their company $70,000. They didn't even care if it was the mail clerk. Everybody talked about this CEO like a dog. All other corporations said, "Oh, he ain't gonna make it. He ain't gonna make it. His company's going to drown. It's the worst thing you could ever do." Well, needless to say, this year his company has flourished. The people are staying longer. He's able to retain good talent. But the thing I love the most is even the people who are making $20,000, he took everybody to 70,000. People have started having families. They're able to pay their bills. They're able to purchase homes now. And it's just amazing the difference. And now that we don't have factories, because it used to be a time in our communities where even if you couldn't read or write, you could get a job in a factory, paying $20, $30 an hour, or on the waterfront as a longshoreman. When they got rid of the factories, that took away of a lot of people's earning potential. So it increases the crime when people don't have money. It increases the crime when people are unstable. And so I think us as a society need to stop worrying about what's happening in all these other countries and start to use some of our resources for the people right here to help people here to do better, be better. And then those people in return will help their next generation and their next generation.
They don't want people here to do better and be better.
No, they are price. It's a price tag on everybody's head.
Right.
That's not the goal.
Right.
That's
They
not
just
the
want to
goal.
take our tax money and send it over to other countries.
But
But we
I
don't
do
help
think that
our brown cousins when they needed help.
right.
In Haiti, like they
Yep.
didn't help our brown
Mhm.
cousins at all.
That's right.
I think that if money is to be distributed, we still have to do something about how people interact with each other.
We do, and we need
Because
some financial
because
literacy.
I know, a lot of people got that PPA money. It didn't stop their negative behaviors.
It didn't. They had
They got
fireworks every darn night.
they bought fireworks. They bought fireworks and guns and lighting up their blocks every night. So
Or
the influx of the money didn't help.
right. Or they purchased 100 or a whole lot of what was it they was driving up there all the time, the ATVs, driving them all up and down the road.
They all souped up now. They on the boulevard. They are on 95. Like they're on Shelby Avenue. Like they're on the Aves. Like they're everywhere.
So when you give people money but don't give them education,
that's right.
It doesn't help.
Correct.
Doesn't help.
Correct.
Doesn't help. That's true.
Correct. And so, I mean, that's like the gateway to a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not sure if we want to pick up on that next week.
Yeah.
But this has definitely been a great conversation. Miss Ruth, what you got for us? We good? Did we cover everything? What we got? What we got? Um, yeah, because I do. I think it's a great place to put a button in it, like
Mhm.
for the night, because
I
especially
agree.
when like we've covered a lot. We've talked
Yes.
about um toxic relationships, community influences, knowing when to say no. Um, okay, my memory ain't always working.
Knowing when to walk away.
Knowing when to walk away,
Mhm.
knowing like that what you choose to do with your family should stay between you and your partner, not having all these
Mhm.
outside influences. If you
Mhm.
are in a spiritual congregation, like how to be mindful about the relationships and knowing that I guess there are social constructs and rules
Mhm.
that you
Mhm.
have to follow, but you should still create your voice um
Mhm.
accordingly.
Yes. Yes.
Accordingly. Um
Yes.
yeah, so I guess I don't know
I
that I
think you
was
that was. I think you covered it all.
okay. Okay.
Yes.
So we didn't get substance abuse or mental health,
Right.
depression,
Right.
couple things. So we'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see what the green room remixes up for you for next week. But we definitely want to thank you for your contributions to the conversation this evening, either live or on the replay. And we didn't you mentioned friends and family too. I forgot.
We
Um,
did.
yes. So definitely, if you catch us on the replay or catch, whatever, let us know how we think, how you thought. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. Stay safe.